Hunter here for a brand new video, and today we're doing something that's actually technology related. Can you actually believe it? We're not eating food for once, they're making food for once. That's rare. So, it's not fixing tech, I know, boo, boo, so sad. But we're doing something else instead that I've been wanting to do, but now I can actually do it because someone decided to loan me out a bunch of 3DSs. Thank you, Blake. So we are going through all of the 3DSs and DSs and ranking them, maybe going over some of the history of them, starting with the OG 3DS and working up to the new 2DS XL. So let's get into this. Starting off with the Nintendo DS. This boy came out in 2004, if you even want to believe that. You don't have to believe that, you can just choose to deny that. But this boy came out and it was significant because literally DS meant two screens. It meant dual screen. So you have your D-pad, but compared to the Game Boy Advance, which this would have been compared to, it added two buttons, the Y and X button, allowing for, more inputs in games. It has proper stereo sound. Ooh. You got your start select, you have your power, which is just a button. They would not change it to a switch. Yeah, and then eventually change back to, a button. Now, at the time, they weren't sure if the DS was actually going to do well, so they actually gave a Game Boy Advance port, so like you can actually still put in a GBA game there if you still wanted to. But then, you have your brand new DS port. This thing is absolutely amazing, and if you were legendary enough, you had one of the cool little straps for it. This is just the normal gray one, so just the normal launch model boy. The pros of this thing, the buttons feel absolutely amazing. They're nice and clicky, they're nice and big. They're a little shallow, but that's kind of fine, but we'll get to that later. Two, it's a bit bigger. I like how this feels in my hands, because the thing that everyone says, I have bigger hands, but having bigger hands can make consoles really bad to play on, or really good to play on. I like that this thing has a bit more weight to it. It's a bit chunky, but I like that. It makes it easier to hold and it makes it more fun to use. Now, some of the cons, the backlight on this thing stinks. Like, they were still getting off of the Game Boy Advance, so this thing had a stinky backlight, like absolutely deplorable. It does not get that bright. Two, the buttons feel a little too shallow. I feel like the buttons feel nice, but they're really shallow, and it feels like they're kind of barely there sometimes. And two, this started Nintendo's history of having terrible chargers for their consoles. Now, let's get a little upgrade, and let's head to the DS Lite. This is the DS Lite, released sometime in about 2005 to 2006. It was made to slim down what had been, made before into a nicer package in a nice, style that still looked absolutely amazing. Of course, we can actually see that we have, the buttons feel a bit different now. The buttons are a bit bigger now, but they're, a little more puffy. I don't know how I feel about the start and select. They kind of almost feel like pins. We still have that GBA port, but we will get to the cons of that later. Of course, there's still the DS cartridge port. And this was even worse, we got a charger that only was seen on the DS Lite. I think with the original DS, that was at least seen with the Game Boy Advance, not with this boy. But compared to its predecessor, this thing has some upgrades. We still have the stereo sound, but now it's a little lever, and now if you turn that, you open it. Its backlight is phenomenal now. It's really good. The menu of the DS had always stayed the same until we got the DSi, which gave us the menu that we had known for the DS and 3DS consoles for a long time. You have your PictoChat, the download play, which allowed you to connect to other games wirelessly and play like little mini multiplayer experiences. You have your brightness, you actually have your settings, and then you could actually have an alarm clock. I tried this once when I was like 4. It scared me. Now the pros of this thing, it's a big upgrade. You could literally fit this in your pocket if you wanted to. 2, this thing has a money battery. Like, the batteries in this thing are amazing. They never die. They never back down. They never give up. Like, literally one time, it's the classic story, left it just sitting for a month, opened it up, Mario still said hello. Some of the cons. GBA port. You put a GBA game in there and it's protruding. What? Come on, man. Like, you go to open up your DS and now you got that thing in the way. I used to have a Yu-Gi-Oh game because the DS Lite was the very first console I ever had. I might link that video of me tearing my one down. It ended up having a lot of problems with it, so I ended up actually having to just scrap it for parts. But yeah, GBA port. I remember having a Yu-Gi-Oh game. That made it really annoying to play. I had a good deck. I don't remember. I only play Yu-Gi-Oh from time to time now, so I have not played it in a while. But yeah, that was the DS Lite. Now moving on to the DSi. Alright, and here we have the DSi. So, I don't have 3 consoles here. The DSi, technically the DSi XL, but that's kind of the same thing. The original 3DS, and then the new 3DS, not the XL one. I'll just give you a brief summary of them. The DSi gave us the proper home menu that we would eventually get with the 3DSs, where you could actually select menus and like different games, and it even had a shop, which allowed you to download like games and apps and all that stuff. It had a camera, which allowed you to have a front-facing camera and rear-facing camera, so you could take goofy pictures and videos. And surprisingly, the camera was actually not changed for the 3DS. It's the exact same camera, which is kind of goofy because you would think it would be worse on the DS. The original 3DS, it's what kicked off the 3DS line. We were given a wider top screen so that we could see more of just everything on the top. We were given 3D. It was not very good though, so you know, it was kind of goofy because, like, you know, if you had to look at it at a very specific way so that you could actually, you know, see the 3D. Oh, and a quick note with the DSi, they got rid of the GBA port. They decided that the DS was good enough. It was its own console now. So yeah, the 3DS just kind of started it all. It started off that like franchise of consoles. It came out in 2011, the DSi came out in 2009, and then we had the new 3DS. They made a bunch of changes, and for the 2015 year, they released the new 3DS and new 3DS XL. They included eye tracking for properly focused 3D so that you would never go out of focus. It was actually given a processor upgrade. It was made a lot stronger and a lot better. So you were actually able to play some new games, including Minecraft. I remember when that came out. I was in 2nd grade. All I had was a 2DS. I was sad. But yeah, that's about it for those 3 consoles. They were pretty significant for what they did, but sadly, I just don't have them in possession right now. Alrighty, but a console that I do have is the original 3DS XL. They decided that they needed to put a bigger screen on the console. So you can see that screen is nice and big, even that bottom screen is nice and big. It included the home, start, and select on the bottom as little buttons right here. I love that. It's really nice. The D-pad, you know, is now moved down because now we have the new circle pad. The circle pad's actually broken on this one, but we have the new circle pad for more precision movements during games because now most games are in 3D. The ABYX is still here, of course, and then we have our home button, which is back to a button. The home button is back to a button. I think they had already done that with the DSi and the OG 3DS. The 3D toggle is right here. On the OG 3DS, actually, the 3D would actually light up when it was on, which was kind of cool. Still have our stereo speakers. Everything's nice and good. You know, front-facing camera, and then, you know, our rear-facing camera, and then there's a sensor right there. Some pros of this thing, it feels amazing in hand. It feels really good. You can still put it in probably a pocket if it was big enough. You just have to have a nice big pocket. The screens make playing games absolutely amazing. The experience is absolutely amazing. It's really fun to play games, especially if you actually have DS games, because it'll upscale the DS games slightly bigger and make them really good to play on. Some of the cons, I don't like the D-pad. The D-pad just does not feel good. I feel like it feels a bit too mushy, and the ABYX just feel like they're a little sunken in. I feel like you just don't get much of a click from them. That could just be because of the age or something like that. And the 3D is still absolutely terrible. They did not fix anything with the 3DS XL. Now, we kind of took a step back with this one. This is the 2DS, the original 2DS. It's known for looking like a cheese wedge, but it was a nice cheap alternative to the OG 3DS that allowed you to still have all the features of a 3DS without the 3D. It was meant for children, and it has some drawbacks, like no 3D, of course, only mono audio, but it has a lot of pros. It still has all the normal 3DS features. It can play 3DS games. It pretty much had every feature of the 3DS except for stereo speakers and 3D. I guess they went with the wedge design mostly probably because of the fact that that's less stuff to break, and it's a child, so you never know what's going to happen. Some of the pros, it has all the 3DS features, which is really good. It's also really easy to fix. If you've ever fixed one of these, you know that it's really easy to fix one of these things, which is so convenient, because you could probably make a good profit off of fixing these things. Some of the cons, mono audio is stinky. No one likes mono audio. No 3D, but I mean, you know, it's kind of in the name. And 2, you can't fit this in a pocket. You kind of have to put this in a case if you're going to go out anywhere. Like, literally, the case I have is literally made for the, like, 2DS. It's square. But, yeah, it's still overall a good console. It's the one I grew up with. I grew up with a blue and black one, but, yeah, it kind of got murdered. We are brought to the new 3DS XL. This is the, like, coveted Galaxy one. This is one of the best, like, 3DSs ever made. Its features come with all the new 3DS models, upgraded, you know, hardware, so it runs games a lot better, and with it being a, you know, XL, larger screens, it looks really good. It comes with loads of features. You can scan an amiibo on the bottom screen. It comes with auto brightness, a power saving mode. So yeah, it has like the NFC capability. It has so much capability. It can also use micro SDs, and I believe it can run a higher amount of storage. It has the C-Stick for more 3D capability in games. Some of its big pros, of course, it's a new 3DS console, so it has all those new capabilities. It's got that new C-Stick. Not a lot of people use it, and not a lot of games use it, but when it's useful, it's good. It has micro SD cards. I will say some of the cons, to get to the SD card port, you have to remove this with screws. It's really annoying, and you know that can be really bad. 2, stylus. The stylus is absolutely terrible. No one likes it. It's tiny. I just dropped it, but I don't want to crouch down to go grab it. I'll just get it later. But yeah, the stylus is absolutely dinky. But overall, this console is amazing. And that brings us to the end of the line. The new 2DS XL, the ultimate version of the 2DS. Not really, but it was the last one. Released in 2017 after the Switch released. It was just released as, I guess, kind of what they thought would be an ultimate 3DS. It doesn't need the 3D because nobody used it, but it still had micro SD capabilities, hardware of the new 3DS. It could play the new 3DS games. It had larger screens in it. Everyone called this the smartphone. It has stereo speakers, but they're right here and right here. They look like lanyard connectors. You can peel this away to find that the SD card port's nice and right here, and the game port's right here. The stylus and aux port is right here, power board, all that stuff. C-Stick is still here, camera's there. Only problem is, why did they put that there? That does not look good. And the ZL and ZR buttons. No wireless charging, but again, they probably just didn't do that because not a lot of people really used it. Pros, it has everything that you realistically needed. No one really used the 3D. And I guess if you liked the wireless charging, that sucks, but like, you know, most people did not use it. I guess really the cons are the things I just said. Like it doesn't have the 3D, and it doesn't have that wireless charging, and I guess the placement of the cameras, they can get scuffed easily, but this thing really was the ultimate 3DS. Eventually, this console would get discontinued in 2020, while the new 3DS consoles got discontinued in 2017, and that would eventually be the end for the 3DS. It's sad that we lost such a good console. It was a really fun console to play on, and some of my favorite games to play on. And hopefully with Nintendo releasing their new console sometime this year, it ends up being something fun and something good to bring around and being able to interact with friends. I really hope we get something like the 3DS. It'll be unfortunate if we don't end up being able to get anything like it again because of how good a console this thing was. But that's about it for today's video. I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Make sure to subscribe. I want to hit 300 subscribers here. Probably not by the end of the school year, but it would be nice. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye. But now, where do these 3DSs and DSs stand on a tier list? There's a couple added ones here, like the ones that we weren't able to rank in, like the DSi XL. So, starting off, we have the original DS. I'm gonna have to just go with the Media S tier. It started it all. It's my favorite model of the DS. I just feel like its functionality might not be the best, but its form is amazing. Then we have the DS Lite. The DS Lite is an amazing console. It does all the things that the DS has done, and it does them, like, technically better than the DS. But, like, personally, I don't care for it too much. But it's still a legendary console. I definitely think it gets A tier. The original Nintendo 3DS. This console is, like, really good. Visually, it looks really nice. It had some amazing colors that started off the 3DS franchise. But, like, it had a lot of flaws with it. Like, a lot of people didn't actually like the paint on it. A lot of people don't like how it looks like a layer cake. A lot of people don't like the 3D. There's a lot of problems with it. There's a lot of stuff that people don't like. I think this one gets a B tier. The new 3DS XL. I love the new 3DS XL. That Galaxy one looked really good. It felt good in the hands. It had all those nice features, the better 3D. I think this one is definitely a good A tier. The OG 3DS XL. I definitely think this one is almost as good as the new 3DS XL. It's a really good console. The only thing holding it back is just the fact that it doesn't have, like, that new 3DS technology stuff in it, which, you know, doesn't make it, like, technically as good. So it's, like, right behind it. The new 2DS XL. The new 2DS XL is kind of like that ultimate 3DS. Like, it's pretty good, but, you know, like, it's still missing that 3D, but, like, I think it gets B tier, but it's definitely better than the 3DS. The 2DS, as much as I grew up with this thing and have played it a lot, and, like, it has all those 3DS features, I just don't really care for it that much. Like, if it's a good console, but on a tier list, I don't think it's gonna be able to place very high. I think this one will get a C tier. Then we have the DSi. The DSi, it's a good console. It's got all the features of a DS. It can play, you know, some different games. It has the eShop. It has the camera. This is definitely a good console. I'll place it in the top of B tier. Personally, for me, I do not like the DSi XL. It's like the one DS console that I'm actually, like, older than. But the DSi XL, I do not really care for that much. Its colors don't look very good. I feel like making the DS screens larger just don't look right. Like, it's nice to have them bigger, but, like, I like how the 3DS, how, like, when it gets bigger, it has, like, that larger top screen to begin with, so it just looks right. This, it just does not, it doesn't really fit while having those two giant, like, squares pretty much. So I'm gonna have to put this on D tier. I really do not enjoy this console. It just looks not good. And then we have the new 3DS, the OG new 3DS, the normal sized one. I love this console. I've always liked the normal sized 3DSs more. They just fit nicer in my hands. I've seen these consoles before. I know people that have them. They have the interchangeable back plates. They have all the cool stuff. If you go in that's the lighter color, you can see the colored buttons a lot more, which looks really good.
I definitely think this one gets the S tier up with the OG 3DS. So that is about it for this video. For anyone watching this on YouTube, I had to submit this as an assignment. So like, this looks dumb, but this is literally an assignment that I had to do pretty much. I mean, I chose to do this, but like the point was like to do something about like that you're learning and you want to get good at. So I couldn't do cooking, so I did this. So with all that said, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.